Do you ever feel like you're just kind of floating through your work life? Like you're supposed to have this profound capital C calling figured out, but instead, work feels maybe more like a routine or a source of stress or maybe just, the engine for paying the bills.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling is so common.
Especially now, right? In a world that throws endless options at you, but also demands you specialize and succeed now, the pressure to find that perfect, meaningful path can feel, well, incredibly isolating, overwhelming, really.
It really can. And the modern narrative, it often tells us that our passion is out there somewhere, fully formed, and we just need to uncover it.
Yeah, like a treasure hunt.
Right, usually through some sudden life-changing event. And that expectation alone, it can make the whole search feel impossible and pretty frustrating.
It creates this anxiety, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're failing if you haven't had your lightning strike moment by age 25 or 30 or, 40. And that's exactly the space we're exploring today. We're going to be guided by the insights in a really thoughtful book called The Art of Work by Jeff Goins.
Yeah, and this isn't a book that's promising like a quick fix or a simple checklist to find your dream job. Not at all.
Yep.
Instead, it offers a profoundly different way of thinking about work and vocation and purpose. It's more like having a seasoned guide walking alongside you, kind of helping you navigate the complex terrain of building a life that feels authentic and contributes something meaningful.
Exactly. So our mission today is really to journey through this book together, to unpack its core ideas, pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight, and really understand what they might mean for your own path.
Think of this conversation as a way to get to the heart of the art of work, perhaps without having to read every single page yourself.
A shortcut to the core message.
Precisely.
All right.
We'll be moving through the book's structure, exploring its argument that, a calling isn't some static thing you just stumble upon, but rather something you actively cultivate and shape. It's a whole process. It involves deeply understanding yourself, committing to growth, definitely learning from others, embracing change, and ultimately seeing your work as a generous act of contribution to the world.
It's a really powerful reframing.
Yeah.
And just so you know, this exploration that we're sharing with you today, it's brought to you by Michael Lafonga.
Okay.
So let's start where the book starts, by really digging into this modern struggle we often feel around work and maybe redefining what calling even means.
Sounds good.
The book opens by acknowledging this widespread feeling of confusion. We live in an age that's often characterized by what it calls hustle culture and sort of constant career restlessness. What does the book mean by that?
Well, it points out that in today's landscape, work has often been reduced. For many people, it's simply the means to a paycheck or a source of stress or maybe just a title on a LinkedIn profile.
Right.
That deep connection between work and purpose or work and a sense of craft, that's often been lost in the noise of chasing external markers of success, like salary or status. We're told to work hard, but maybe not why we should work hard, beyond just personal gain.
Right. It becomes very transactional. You do X, you get Y, usually money or recognition, and that's kind of the primary exchange.
Precisely. And the book really challenges the prevailing myth that's associated with this transactional view. The idea that your calling is this sudden, overwhelming epiphany.
Yeah, the lightning bolt.
Exactly, like a bolt of lightning striking you from the heavens, revealing your one true destiny. Or, that it's something you're born with and you just have to find it quickly.
That myth is just so pervasive. It sets up this impossible standard, doesn't it? If you haven't had that moment, you feel inadequate, like you're missing the map everyone else seems to have.
Exactly. And the pressure to find it leads to frustration and often just paralysis. You don't know where to start.
So what's the alternative the book offers?
Well, it offers a very different and I think much healthier redefinition. It proposes viewing work not just as a job or a career path, but as an art form.
An art form?
Yeah, a craft you hone, and crucially, a journey of discovery and creation.
So it's less about a predetermined destination you arrive at and more about the ongoing process of actually building something, of bringing something into existence through your effort.
Yes, exactly. It emphasizes that your work and your sense of calling within it isn't static, it's dynamic. It evolves, and it's shaped over time by your experiences, your developing skills, your changing passions, and your deepening values. It's something you participate in creating, not just something you find ready-made.
That fundamental mindset shift from find to craft or build, that feels really significant. It moves away from that anxiety of, am I in the right place right now? And moves towards, How can I intentionally shape my path from here?
It is significant, and the book argues it's crucial for anyone feeling stuck or maybe overwhelmed by the sheer volume of career options, or just the constant noise and comparison that the digital age enables.
Yeah.
If you see it as a journey, then every step, every learning experience, even, every misstep, it becomes part of the process. It's not a judgment on whether you're fundamentally on the wrong path.
Which leads perfectly into the first key insight the book lays out, doesn't it? That calling is a journey, not a destination.
Exactly.
It doesn't arrive in a sudden dramatic flash. It grows and unfolds gradually as you engage deeply with the world around you, with your specific interests, and perhaps most importantly, with your own life story.
Right. It's less about waiting for some external sign and much more about paying attention to the internal signals and the external opportunities that emerge as you live and work. And adopting this long view, as the book puts it, is incredibly liberating for navigating career paths today.
How so? What makes it liberating?
Well, it immediately reduces that intense pressure to have it all figured out right now. You don't need to feel like a failure if your current job isn't your ultimate calling. It's simply a stage in the journey, a place where you can learn, contribute, and gather information. It allows for exploration without that feeling that you're wasting time if it's not the perfect fit.
So every experience, even the ones that don't feel perfect, adds to your understanding and capabilities. It's not wasted.
Exactly. And this perspective also builds resilience. Because you understand that the path is not straight, right? That there will be detours and bumps in the road.
Always.
Always. These challenges don't feel like proof that you're on the wrong path. They're just part of the path. You can see setbacks as temporary obstacles or learning opportunities within the larger journey rather than definitive failures.
That's a fundamental shift in how you approach difficulty, isn't it? Instead of, this went wrong, I must be wrong, it's more like, okay, this happened, what's next on the journey?
Precisely. The book is really trying to dismantle that paralyzing myth of the single, sudden calling and replace it with a more fluid, more realistic, and ultimately more empowering view of work as a lifelong process of learning, adapting, and contributing.
Okay, so building on that powerful idea of calling being a journey, the book then guides us inward. It emphasizes the absolutely critical practice of listening to your own life story.
Yes, this is a core theme. It's explored in chapters like Listen to Your Life and Your Story Matters. And the book highlights a challenge we face today in our incredibly noisy, hyper-connected world.
So noisy.
Right, where information is constantly flooding in and demanding our attention. The simple act of tuning into your own life story it's become a bit of a lost art.
It's just hard to quiet the external noise enough to even hear your own thoughts, let alone the subtle patterns and lessons from your past.
Right. We're conditioned to look outward for validation, for trends, for what others are doing. But the core idea from Listen to Your Life is the profound value of pausing, of stepping back from that external barrage and engaging in deep reflection. It's about examining the unique threads and experiences woven through your personal history, no matter how ordinary they might seem at first glance.
And the book suggests these threads are actually clues to your calling.
Yes, exactly. It presents your entire life with all its twists, turns, successes, and failures as providing invaluable clues to your potential future work and contribution. The key insight here is that your story is a deep source of wisdom.
Okay.
Life's ups and downs, the persistent interests maybe you've had since childhood, the challenges you've overcome, the things that consistently capture your attention or stir your emotions. The book sees all of these as containing lessons and signals guiding your calling.
So everything you've been through holds potential meaning. Nothing is just random.
It does hold potential meaning. The book suggests that this kind of attentive reflection, this narrative awareness of your own journey, is actually a form of reflective leadership.
Reflective leadership.
Yeah, you're leading yourself towards a deeper understanding of who you are and where you might be uniquely positioned to contribute. It's about seeing your history not as something to be overcome or ignored, but as a rich source of data.
Okay, but how do you actually do this listening? It sounds simple, but in practice, it can be hard to know where to start, staring at a blank page.
That's a great question. The book offers practical guidance and tools. Journaling and dedicated reflection time are highlighted as essential tools.
Right.
The simple act of writing down your thoughts, memories, observations, it helps to externalize them. It makes them easier to examine and understand. It helps you clarify jumbled thoughts and surfaces, hidden desires or values, or recurring interests you might not have consciously recognized. Think of it like sorting through a box of old photos or treasures.
So it's about giving your internal world space to reveal itself, rather than just pushing forward all the time with tasks and to-dos.
Yes. And another crucial point the book emphasizes is paying attention to your energy, not just physical energy, but that feeling of being alive, energized, or in flow.
Flow state.
Exactly. Those moments where you lose track of time, where the work itself feels intrinsically rewarding, where you feel deeply engaged in utilizing your strengths, the book says these are crucial for career alignment. They are powerful indicators of where your natural inclinations and the world's needs might intersect.
I really like that, focusing on what gives you energy, where you feel most vibrant,
Yeah.
rather than just following external prescriptions or, constantly trying to fix weaknesses.
Absolutely. It's about leaning into what feels right and resonant for you. And interestingly, the book also reframes the hard parts, the setbacks and failures.
Okay, how does it do that?
Instead of seeing them as proof that you're not cut out for something, it presents them as valuable data. Challenges teach you resilience in a way that success simply can't. They often reveal what you truly care about by showing you what you're willing to struggle for, or what deeply disappoints you when it doesn't work out. It's about learning to see failure as feedback rather than defeat.
That perspective completely changes the sting of failure, doesn't it? It becomes information instead of judgment.
Exactly. And the book also reminds us that our story isn't just an internal monologue. Our path is significantly shaped by context.
Context, like our circumstances.
Yeah, our environment, our relationships, the cultural background we come from, the communities we're a part of, all of these shape our calling. Vocation is described as being relational and adaptive, meaning it's influenced by and lived out in connection with others and the world around us. You're not figuring this out in isolation.
That makes sense. Your calling isn't just about your individual skills in a vacuum. It's also about how those skills interact with the needs and opportunities of the community or world you're in.
Precisely. And this ties directly into the Your Story Matters chapter, which delves into the importance of embracing your authentic story, especially in a world that encourages curated, perfect online personas.
Oh yeah, the Instagram effect.
Right. The book makes a strong case that embracing your whole story, including your imperfections, struggles, and vulnerabilities, is actually the foundation of meaningful work.
That feels incredibly counterintuitive in the age of personal branding, where everyone tries to look flawless all the time.
It does, but the book's key insight here is powerful. Authenticity is a leadership superpower. Sharing your genuine self, including your vulnerabilities and failures, builds incredible credibility and inspires trust in others. Whether you're leading a team, creating a product, or simply collaborating with others, people connect with genuine human experience. Trying to appear perfect often creates distance, not connection.
So showing where you're human actually makes you more effective and relatable, not less.
Often, yes. And the book strongly emphasizes that everyone's story has value. It doesn't matter if you think your life has been ordinary or unremarkable. Your unique collection of experiences, perspectives, and lessons learned contributes fresh perspectives and insights that literally no one else in the world can offer. Your specific journey is unique.
That's a really encouraging thought, especially if you spend any time comparing yourself to others' highlight reels online.
Absolutely. Your narrative not only shapes how you see yourself and how others perceive your work, but the very act of telling your story also builds community and belonging.
How so?
Sharing your journey connects you with like-minded individuals, helps you find mentors and collaborators, and creates vital support networks. It shows others they're not alone.
And those imperfections we talked about earlier, the things we usually try to hide.
The book argues that embracing those imperfections humanize and add depth to your story. They enhance emotional resonance. Think about the people you admire most often. It's their ability to overcome challenges or be open about their struggles that truly connects with you, not just their flawless successes.
It makes you real. It makes them feel accessible.
It does. It moves away from presenting a polished facade towards building genuine connection through shared human experience.
So as you, the listener, think about these ideas, the book encourages reflection, right? Like, what recurring themes or experiences in your life, maybe ones you've dismissed, feel significant?
Exactly. Or, how can you bring more of your authentic self into your work or public presence, including acknowledging imperfections?
And maybe consider how your specific story might inspire or connect with others who share similar experiences or aspirations.
They aren't just abstract questions, are they? They're prompts for genuine self-discovery drawn straight from the book's approach. They're invitations to pause and mine the wisdom already present in your life.
Okay, so we've explored redefining work as a journey, and the vital practice of listening to your own story. The book then logically shifts gears, doesn't it? It moves to the practical side of actually developing the capacity to do meaningful work,
Yes.
focusing on growth, the powerful concept of apprenticeship, and the essential engine of practice.
Yes, this section builds directly on the idea that your calling isn't fixed. It's dynamic and evolves, as discussed in the chapter, grow into your calling. This requires intentional growth and flexibility on your part, especially in today's world where industries, technologies, and societal needs are constantly shifting. Standing still isn't really an option if you want your work to remain relevant and fulfilling.
So that phrase lifelong learning isn't just a buzzword. The book sees it as a necessity for cultivating a calling.
It really is, and a key insight from this part of the book is the emphasis on seek mentorship and community. You don't have to figure everything out in isolation. Learning from people who are further along than you, who have maybe navigated similar challenges or who possess different skills and perspectives, well, it accelerates growth dramatically. It provides invaluable guidance that shortcuts the learning curve.
So intentionally seeking out people who can teach you mentors is a cornerstone of growing into your calling.
Absolutely. Mentors offer feedback, they share wisdom, they provide accountability. And alongside mentorship is the necessity to invest in skill development continuously.
Always be learning new skills.
In a changing world, your skill set needs to evolve. Actively acquiring new skills or refining existing ones is essential to staying relevant and empowered to contribute effectively. Skills are, the tools you use to build the work you're called to do.
And what if the path you're on becomes clear it's not the right one, even with all this growth and skill development?
That's a great point. The book addresses this directly by saying you must be prepared to embrace change and pivot when necessary. Flexibility is critical. Sometimes the most intentional growth actually means changing direction entirely based on new learning or evolving interests or even just external circumstances changing. A pivot, as we'll discuss more later, isn't failure. It's often a sign of self-awareness and growth.
So knowing when to stick with something and when to shift gears is part of the growth process itself.
It absolutely is. But the book also acknowledges that growth isn't always easy or linear. It requires patience and perseverance.
Patience again.
Yes, there will be plateaus, there will be setbacks, and moments when you feel like you're not making any progress at all. Persistence through these difficult phases is crucial for building both capability and character.
Patience is definitely a virtue when you're pursuing something meaningful, not just a quick win.
It's essential. And this focus on growth and learning brings us to a concept the book explores deeply, which might seem surprising at first glance. Apprenticeship.
Apprenticeship?
Yes, the apprenticeship chapter argues that this seemingly outdated concept is actually more relevant than ever today as a deliberate, immersive learning process.
Apprenticeship makes me think of, blacksmiths or medieval guilds.
Yeah.
How is that relevant today in, say, tech or creative fields?
Well, the book argues that while the context has certainly changed, the core principle is timeless: learning by doing. The book highlights that while theoretical knowledge is important, true mastery really comes from hands-on experience, from grappling with real-world problems and working directly under the guidance of experienced practitioners. This kind of immersive, practical learning accelerates competence in a way that simply reading books or attending lectures cannot.
So it's about getting your hands dirty, making mistakes, and having someone guide you through the actual work, not just the theory.
Exactly. It's about gaining practical wisdom alongside theoretical knowledge. And the book emphasizes how mentorship transforms potential into skill. That close working relationship with an experienced mentor provides invaluable personalized feedback, crucial encouragement during challenging phases, and accountability that helps you stay focused and push your boundaries. This kind of guidance is often what turns raw potential into actual, usable, high-level skill.
What kind of mindset is required for this kind of intense learning relationship for being an apprentice?
That's key. The book stresses the need for humility and patience are critical. Approaching learning with openness, acknowledging what you don't know, and being willing to be coached and receive constructive criticism is critical to absorbing lessons and improving. If you think you already know everything, you simply can't learn effectively in this model.
Humility is the foundation for growth. You have to be willing to be the beginner.
It is, and beyond just skills, the book notes that apprenticeships naturally builds professional networks. Working closely within an established practice or alongside mentors and peers in your field connects you to valuable communities and opportunities that can significantly shape your career trajectory long after any formal apprenticeship ends.
So it's connections as much as curriculum, in a way.
Yes, very much so. And importantly, the book makes the point that quality trumps speed in this deep, focused learning process. True mastery takes time and dedicated effort. Trying to rush an apprenticeship or take shortcuts ultimately undermines the goal of deep competence and understanding.
Which leads us nicely to the very engine that powers both growth and apprenticeship, according to the book Practice.
Yes, the practice chapter. In an age that seems obsessed with side hustles, passive income, and promises of overnight success.
Get rich quick schemes.
Exactly. Disciplined, consistent practice is often overlooked or maybe undervalued. But the book calls it the true engine of expertise and creativity.
Okay, but is it just about doing something over and over and over until you're good at it? Like rote repetition?
The book clarifies that it's not just mindlessly repeating motions. It's about what it calls deliberate practice beats passive effort.
Deliberate practice.
Yes. It's mindful, purposeful effort, specifically aimed at continuous improvement. It involves identifying your weaknesses, pushing your boundaries slightly beyond your current comfort zone, and getting feedback on your performance. It actively targets weaknesses and pushes boundaries.
So practicing smarter, with intention, not just harder or longer.
Yes. And the book offers a truly powerful insight about how this builds mastery over time. Consistency is more important than intensity.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's better to practice for a focused 30 minutes every single day than to have one intense 8-hour cram session once a month. Small, daily habits of practice, even just for a short duration, compound over time to produce remarkable results that sporadic, intense bursts of effort just can't match. Think of it like compounding interest in a bank account. Small, regular deposits build significant wealth over time.
That's such a relief for anyone feeling like they don't have huge blocks of time to dedicate. Small, consistent efforts are the key.
Exactly. And the book notes that practice develops both skill and discipline. Beyond building technical ability in your craft, regular practice builds the mental toughness, the focus, and the perseverance needed for sustained effort and success, especially when motivation wanes or you encounter obstacles. Discipline ensures you show up even when inspiration doesn't feel like showing up.
Discipline is often the differentiator between those who succeed long-term and those who burn out, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And importantly, reflection enhances practice. Regularly reviewing your practice sessions, what went well, what was challenging, what did you learn, what needs improvement. This sharpens your learning process. It prevents you from just repeating the same mistakes and helps you make smarter adjustments to your practice routine.
Pausing to analyze your effort, not just measure the outcome or keep grinding.
Yes. And finally, the book argues that practice fosters innovation. Now, this might sound counterintuitive.
Yeah, practice sounds like repetition. Innovation sounds like novelty.
Right. But achieving mastery through dedicated practice actually creates the freedom to experiment and innovate creatively within your field. When you deeply understand the fundamentals and have refined your skills through thousands of hours of practice, you have the foundation, the intuition, and the confidence to break the rules effectively and create something truly new.
So mastery isn't a cage that restricts you. It's actually a springboard for creativity.
It is. It gives you the fluency needed to improvise brilliantly within your domain.
Okay, so as you, the listener, think about this stage of the journey: growth, apprenticeship. Practice the book. Encourages some reflection points, like identify one area where you can seek mentorship or join a community aligned with your interests.
Right. Or what specific skills do you want to develop for your potential calling, and how can you make a plan to acquire them?
And maybe setting a specific, measurable goal for deliberate practice in one of those skill areas. Developing a daily or weekly routine for consistency.
Yes, even small increments count. And crucially, how will you reflect weekly on your practice to ensure you're learning effectively and staying on track? These are concrete steps to move from just thinking about growth to actually doing it.
They transform abstract ideas into actionable habits.
Exactly.
Now, as you actively engage in this journey, listening to your life, committing to growth and practice, the book acknowledges that change is pretty much inevitable, right? Sometimes you'll need to navigate uncertainty and even take risks to move forward meaningfully.
Yes, these essential elements are covered in chapters like the pivot and the risk. The pivot chapter offers a really crucial perspective shift. It says, Changing direction, whether it's within your current role or maybe to an entirely new field, isn't a sign of failure or instability.
That's important.
It's reframed as a natural and necessary step in your journey towards meaningful work. It's an opportunity to realign with your evolving understanding of yourself and the world. The book says explicitly, pivots are signs of growth, not failure.
That's a powerful counterpoint to the feeling that changing jobs or careers means you somehow failed at the last one.
It is. The book argues it reflects learning and self-awareness. It means you've gathered new information, perhaps through experience or reflection, that indicates a different path is now more aligned with your calling.
Okay, but how do you know when a pivot is appropriate versus, say, just giving up when things get difficult?
That's a critical distinction. The book emphasizes the need to assess when and why to pivot. Strategic pivots are based on honest evaluation, really looking at whether your current work still fits your evolving goals, values, and strengths. It's not about impulsive abandonment when things get tough, but rather a thoughtful recalibration based on gained wisdom.
So it requires that self-reflection we talked about earlier.
Definitely. And when you do pivot, what happens to everything you learned on the previous path? Is all that effort just wasted?
Yeah, that's a common fear, I think.
It is, but the book says not at all. It highlights the immense value of what it calls leverage transferable skills. The skills, knowledge, and experience you gained on one path are rarely confined just to that specific field. They can often be incredibly valuable and fuel success in a new direction, really highlighting the value of adaptability. Your past isn't a sunk cost. It's an asset you carry with you.
Okay, but even a well-thought-out, calculated pivot sounds, well, scary. There's inherent uncertainty involved.
It is scary. And the book directly addresses this by stressing the need to manage fear and uncertainty proactively. You have to acknowledge your fears, they are real and valid, but the focus needs to be on action and possibilities.
Right.
Being aware of the risks and challenges without being paralyzed by them empowers effective pivots. It's about focusing on what you can control and the potential positive outcomes, rather than being consumed by all the what-ifs.
So feeling the fear but choosing to act anyway, based on your assessment.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And the book points out that successfully navigating change and making strategic pivots actually builds resilience. Each time you intentionally navigate uncertainty and adapt to a new situation, you strengthen your problem-solving abilities, you increase your flexibility, and you boost your confidence in your ability to handle future changes.
Resilience is definitely a superpower for navigating any kind of journey, especially a career journey.
It is. Which brings us to the related concept the book tackles, risk. The risk chapter makes it very clear that taking risk is not optional if you want meaningful work. It is necessary for meaningful work.
Necessary, not just advisable.
Necessary. The book argues you cannot achieve significant growth, make a unique contribution, or build something truly impactful without stepping outside your comfort zone and facing uncertainty. However, it requires thoughtful calculation and courage, not reckless abandon.
So you can't just play it safe forever if you want to do work that truly matters in the long run.
The book argues you can't. Risk is integral to growth and innovation. Stepping into the unknown is how progress happens, how new solutions are found, and how breakthroughs occur. Staying only within the safe, familiar boundaries limits your potential impact and growth dramatically.
Okay, but how do you take a thoughtful calculation risk versus just being reckless? What's the difference?
That's a critical distinction the book makes. Distinguish calculated risks from recklessness. Calculated risks are informed decisions. They involve doing your research, preparing as much as possible, understanding the potential downsides, and having contingency plans in place to reduce negative fallout if things don't go as planned.
Right.
Recklessness, on the other hand, is impulsive, uninformed, and often driven by emotion like fear or greed, rather than careful evaluation.
So it's about preparation and mitigation, not just closing your eyes and hoping for the best.
Exactly. And even with calculated risks, failure is still a possibility. The book reiterates this point. Failure is part of risk and should be seen primarily as a learning opportunity, not a reason to stop trying. Your mindset matters deeply here.
Back to mindset again.
Always. Viewing a failed risk as feedback, valuable information gained about what didn't work, which informs your next attempt, is crucial. It's much healthier than seeing it as definitive proof you should just give up.
Someone said failure is just expensive tuition for the school of experience.
That's a good way to put it. And the book argues that taking risks, especially calculated ones, builds confidence. Each time you step outside your comfort zone, face uncertainty, and navigate the situation, even if the outcome isn't exactly what you hoped for, you prove to yourself that you can handle it. This makes subsequent risks feel less daunting and more like manageable challenges.
You build a track record of courage for yourself internally.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And finally, the book stresses the importance of align risks with your values and vision. Taking risks that resonate with your core purpose and what truly matters to you increases your motivation to see it through and makes the effort much more sustainable. Risks taken purely for external gain, like just money or fame, are often harder to persevere with than those aligned with your deepest values.
So the book encourages you, the listener, to reflect. Are you in a situation now that might benefit from a thoughtful pivot? What transferable skills do you possess from past experiences that could be valuable in a new direction?
Yeah, and maybe identify a risk you've been avoiding in your work or calling journey. What are its potential benefits and downsides? Can you develop a simple plan to mitigate the potential negative outcomes of taking that risk?
And perhaps reflect on a past risk you took, whether it was successful or not. What vital lesson did you learn from that experience that you can apply now?
These are important questions to ask yourself, framed by the book's perspective, that can help you navigate change and uncertainty with greater intention and courage.
Okay, so bringing all these pieces together, redefining calling as a journey, listening to your life, growing through practice and apprenticeship, navigating change and risk, the book really culminates in the concepts of commitment and contribution, doesn't it? Viewing your work as a gift and thinking about your legacy now.
Yes, exactly. These themes are woven through the final chapters, like the commitment, the gift, and the legacy. The commitment chapter emphasizes the transformative power of steadfast dedication. In a world, as we've said, with endless options and distractions constantly pulling for our attention.
So many distractions.
Right. Choosing to commit deeply to a specific path or a particular work feels increasingly significant and, frankly, powerful.
Commitment means saying yes to one thing, which inherently means saying no to countless others. That can be hard.
It can be very hard. The book explains that commitment means saying yes to focus, discipline, and sometimes sacrifice. It's an active choice to invest your most valuable resources, your time, energy, and attention into what truly matters to you and your calling.
So what's the payoff for that deep focus and commitment? Why make those sacrifices?
A key insight the book offers is that commitment builds momentum. Sustained, focused effort over time, even small, consistent daily actions, compounds over time.
Compounding again.
Yes, like pushing a heavy flywheel. The initial effort is hard, maybe feels like nothing is happening, but with sustained pushing, it builds incredible momentum, turning small actions into significant achievements and creating a powerful force for impact.
That ties back directly to the consistency we talked about in practice.
Absolutely. It's a core principle running through the entire book. And to maintain that focus and build momentum, the book highlights that boundaries are essential.
Setting boundaries.
Yes. Saying no to distractions, to competing demands, to anything that pulls you away from your core work and commitment protects your time and energy for meaningful work. Your commitment is only possible if you actively safeguard the resources required for it.
So saying no to the constant noise is actually saying yes to your purpose.
Precisely. And related to this is the powerful point that discipline trumps motivation. Motivation is wonderful when it's present. We all love feeling motivated, but it's notoriously fleeting, isn't it?
Oh yeah? It comes and goes.
Commitment relies on discipline, the ability to show up and do the necessary work even when you don't feel inspired or energized or motivated. Discipline ensures consistency through the inevitable dips and valleys of any long-term pursuit.
Discipline is the engine that keeps you moving when the fuel of motivation runs low or runs out completely.
Exactly. The book also notes that commitment inspires trust and credibility. Demonstrating long-term dedication to your craft, your mission, or your community builds a reputation for reliability and seriousness, which is critical for leadership and professional reputation. People trust those who show up consistently and stick with things, even when it's hard.
And you mentioned sacrifice as part of it. It's not all smooth sailing.
Yes, the book is realistic. Sacrifice is part of commitment. Pursuing a calling and building meaningful work isn't always comfortable or convenient. It may require letting go of certain comforts or social engagements or even other seemingly attractive opportunities to prioritize the growth and success of the work you're committed to.
It's not always easy, but the book suggests it's necessary for deeper fulfillment and impact.
It does. It's often the price of deep focus and meaningful contribution. And building on this foundation of commitment, the gift chapter introduces a potentially transformative perspective, viewing your work not just as a career or a means to an end, but as a gift to the world. Yes, this fundamentally shifts the focus from personal gain and achievement to contribution and service.
How does seeing your work as a gift change things, practically speaking?
Well, the key insight is that your work is a gift to others. When you frame your work this way, your primary motivation shifts away from purely self-centered goals like income, status, or personal recognition and moves towards community impact, towards how your efforts benefit others, solve problems, or bring value to the world.
So it reframes work as an act of service or generosity, rather than just self-advancement.
Exactly. And the book argues that serving others with humility enhances influence. Focusing on contributing value to others without ego or expectation of immediate reward builds genuine relationships and earns lasting respect. This authentic connection actually increases your ability to have a positive and lasting impact.
It seems counterintuitive in some ways that humility would lead to influence, but it makes sense people trust and respect those who are genuinely focused on helping, not just promoting themselves.
They really do. And this perspective helps prioritize delivering value over seeking approval or applause. The book encourages you to focus on value, not validation. The intrinsic reward comes from the quality of your contribution and the positive impact it has, rather than external praise or metrics.
And does generosity extend beyond just the work itself, like sharing knowledge?
Yes, absolutely. Generosity fosters growth. Sharing your knowledge, your experiences, your resources, and your connections with others operates on a principle of abundance, not scarcity. By being generous, you enrich your network, multiply opportunities for yourself and others, and create a positive ecosystem around your work. Giving often leads to receiving in unexpected ways down the line.
It creates a virtuous cycle, rather than a zero-sum game.
It does, and crucially, when work is seen as a gift, purpose fuels sustainable motivation. Because the driving force comes from an internal desire to contribute and make a difference in the lives of others or the world around you, that motivation is much deeper, more resilient, and capable of sustaining you through difficulties and setbacks than motivation based purely on external rewards like money or status.
That internal sense of purpose is a much more powerful and renewable engine.
It truly is. And finally, the legacy chapter offers a challenging but also inspiring idea. It pushes back against the common notion that legacy is only about what you leave behind after you're gone, like a will or a monument or a foundation.
Right, something for the history books.
Instead, it's about living with legacy in mind now. Thinking about how your daily work and life choices are shaping the future, not just for yourself, but for others and the world starting today.
So legacy isn't just about the destination at the very end. It's something being built brick by brick every single day.
Precisely. Legacy is defined in the book as impact over time. It's the ripple effect your meaningful work has on lives, communities, and circumstances far beyond your immediate sphere in your personal lifetime. It's about the lasting difference you make through your contributions.
And that difference starts today, with today's actions.
Absolutely. Your daily actions build your legacy. The small, consistent choices you make every single day, how you approach your work, how you treat others, the effort you put in, the values you uphold, these seemingly small actions shape the long-term story of your work and your life. Every day is an opportunity to contribute to your legacy.
Consistency showing up in yet another crucial area. It really is a theme.
It's fundamental. And the book reiterates the role of mentorship here in extending your influence and building legacy. By investing your time and energy in mentoring and supporting others, you multiply your impact and help pass on knowledge, skills, and wisdom that can continue to grow and benefit the world long after you are gone.
Mentorship is a direct way to build a living legacy that continues beyond you.
Yes, and legacy requires vision and purpose. Having clarity about the kind of difference you want to make in the world, the impact you hope to have, and the values you want to embody helps guide your strategic choices and ensures your daily actions are aligned with that long-term vision. It gives your efforts direction and meaning.
It provides a compass for your daily work, pointing towards that larger impact.
And living with legacy in mind strongly encourages integrity. When you're thinking about the long-term impact of your actions, it naturally pushes you to align your decisions and behaviors with your deepest values, building trust and honor in your work and your relationships. Your legacy is not just about what you built, but how you built it.
That's a powerful distinction.
So the book invites you to consider, what kind of positive legacy do you want to leave through your work and your life? Identify one way you can intentionally mentor or support someone else this week, even in a small way, and reflect honestly on how your daily habits, decisions, and interactions currently align with the kind of long-term impact you hope to have.
These are really powerful questions to sit with, and they tie together so much of what the book explores, from the beginning right through to the end.
They shift the focus from just getting through the day or the next project to building something that lasts, something meaningful.
So as we wrap up this exploration of Jeff Goins' book, The Art of Work, let's just quickly revisit the journey it takes us on.
Sure.
It feels like quite a path.
It really does.
We started by challenging that myth of the sudden calling, reframing it instead as a journey you actively embark on and craft over time.
Then we explored the profound importance of listening to your life story, mining your experiences, and even your imperfections for clues and wisdom about where you're meant to contribute.
We then moved into the essential practices of growing into your calling through continuous learning, the immersive process of apprenticeship under mentors, and that foundational engine of consistent, deliberate practice.
We also discussed how navigating change and uncertainty is a necessary part of the journey, viewing pivots not as failures, but as signs of growth, and understanding that calculated risks, while requiring courage, are integral to innovation and building confidence.
And finally, we explored the transformative power of deep commitment to your work, reframing it not just as a career pursuit, but as a gift to the world.
And how intentionally living with legacy in mind now means understanding that your daily actions are building impact over time.
The thread weaving through all these ideas seemed to be that a meaningful calling isn't some static external thing you passively hope to stumble upon. It's something dynamic you actively build, shape, and cultivate.
Yes, through intentional choices, dedicated effort, a willingness to learn and adapt, and, importantly, a heart focused on contributing something valuable to the world. It's a far more empowering and actionable vision than just waiting for some mystical revelation to strike.
Absolutely. It puts the power back in your hands. And as you reflect on your own path and the insights from this book, here's maybe a thought to carry with you. What single small choice could you make today, viewing that action not as just another chore or a task, but as a conscious gift offered to someone or to the world that might create a ripple effect reaching further than you can currently imagine?
Or perhaps consider this. What part of your own unique story, maybe an experience you've always tried to downplay or hide, actually holds the most vital clue to the specific way you are uniquely called to contribute right now?
Questions definitely worth pondering as you continue crafting your own art of work. We hope this look into the art of work has given you some valuable perspective and maybe some practical ideas for your own journey.